Hi, everybody, and welcome to tonight's Joe and Joe Weather Show, which is brought to you by the folks at Omni True Value Hardware, Long Island's largest provider of rock salt and everything you need when it comes to dealing with winter storms. They've got all the snowmelt products you can imagine, including Petalo, calcium chloride pellets and flakes, considered by snowplow drivers all across this area that I've spoken to, and I really speak to them because they talk to me during these storms. They say that the Petalo is the best stuff out there, the calcium chloride pellets and flakes to melt the ice. And of course, they've got plain regular old rock salt, Long Island's largest rock salt provider, de-icer in case you need it, and even a generator. If you need a new generator, Omni True Value Hardware is the place to go. 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon. That is just north of the Southern State Parkway or south of the Long Island Expressway. And the telephone number is 631-756-1125. The website is omnitruevalue.com. And I'm not 100% sure where my partner is. Joe Rayo has usually he's dialed in. He's connected with me usually by before 7:30, but he hasn't done so yet. So I'm not sure what is wrong, but hopefully nothing. Maybe he's just having some technical difficulties. Anyway, I will move along here, and we'll get things going because there is some weather going on in the longer range. There really isn't a whole lot happening in the short term because we have this block, and the block is too strong. Imagine that. It's been years. I mean, literally years since we've had a setup like this. You probably have to go back to 2010, 2011, or 2009, 2010 to see something similar. Uh, that's how long it's been. It's not. We've had periodic negative North Atlantic oscillations. The blocking in the North Atlantic is what that refers to. And we've had the Arctic oscillation, higher pressures in the Arctic region. That has been there from time to time, but not for the long stretch that we're in right now. Certainly not this strong. And uh, for those of you who many people would say to me in the weather world, we need blocking, we need blocking, we need blocking. Yeah, well, guess what? You've got so much blocking around that weather systems aren't going to be able to move up the East Coast. But if you are a snow lover, say in Southern Virginia, Western North Carolina, the mountains down into northern Georgia, with the weather system that's going to be moving east Thursday into Friday, you're going to be very happy with this because you're going to wind up seeing some snow out of it. So there are pluses and minuses depending on your geography. What we need actually now is for the block to relax a little bit to allow for some room for storms to move up the East Coast. That is if you want snow, because not everybody does. So I just want to make sure I give equal time to those who want it and those who don't. So we have so far tonight, we have one 44 likes, and in honor of Joe not being here, let's get that up to 100 likes if you would. If you like the show, just hit the like button. And if you're new to the channel, welcome. We love having new people on. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel by just hitting the subscribe button using your Gmail account, and then you can jump in and participate in the chat on the chat board. So by all means, please do. We get lively conversation here. Anthony Orr becomes the first person tonight to hit super chat. And thank you. Joe and I do really appreciate this. I am just, you know what? I'm just going to run up give me 15 seconds, okay? 15 seconds. And you guys can't see it. I'm just going to run up and get my phone in case his Mrs. Rayo is trying to message me to let me know that there is an issue. So hang on. I will be right back. I promise. Hold on. coming. Hang on. Okay. So I do have, let's see. So, okay. I had a feeling this was the case. I am back, although now I see I've disappeared from the screen. Okay, so now I got to fix this. We're loaded with technical difficulties tonight, aren't we? All right, so hang on one second, folks. I will take care of this. And they'll put me back up. Here we go. I don't know why it did that. There we are. So apparently, Joe, I've just been informed on the phone that their Wi-Fi is out. So, oh, now it's back. Okay. All right, so their Wi-Fi just came back. So Joe should be on shortly. So everybody just kind of be patient, and he should be popping up momentarily. Mrs. Rayo is texting me. We got a connection. Good Lord. Oh, he's entering the room. Hang on, folks. He's going to pop it. There he is. He's coming on now. This is so exciting.
Hello.
Live from the Ed Sullivan Theater.
I saw a blank screen. What happened with you?
I ran upstairs to get my phone in case you, Mrs. Rayo, was trying to text me. And I guess when the camera doesn't see somebody after a short period of time, it just blanked it out. It
Oh,
went. We
okay.
went. We went to black.
Okay. Well, to make a long story short or a short story long, for
Yes.
whatever reason, I couldn't get online. And what I had to do was I had to physically turn off my computer, turn off my Wi Fi, turn off my modem, and then power everything back after about 30 seconds. And it all came back. Otherwise, I couldn't. There was no. And the funny thing is that my wife was on her iPad upstairs waiting to watch the show.
Right.
She had she had internet, but down here my computer didn't. So I had to shut everything down and bring everything back up
Oh,
to bring the
Sassa.
internet
Oh,
back.
there's dirty work afoot. Some little gremlin got in there and messed up your connection, I think.
There you go.
It could
I don't know
be.
what happened, but
Oh.
we're here.
Well, it's good that you're here. I did all the intros and the, um, uh, made the began to lay the base case for what we have to look forward to weather-wise going forward. Um, I'm certainly interested in knowing what your never to be humble opinions are regarding what all the models did at various times during the day today.
Well, yesterday it looked like, hey, the GFS is calling for a snowstorm next Tuesday, and the European is not. And today, when the GFS said, "Nah, I think we changed our minds. We're not going to go for the snowstorm. It's going to pass to our south," I said, "Oh, okay. Then that means you're in the European camp." European came out about an hour later, and guess what? Surprise, surprise, surprise.
Right.
So who the heck knows what's going to happen next Tuesday from
Uh,
this
well,
vantage
I can
point
tell
right
you
now?
this. The same, whatever just happened again. So give me a moment here while I clean this up. I don't know what's going on.
But you're black again, Joe.
Yes, I know. One moment.
Hmm.
I'm going to put this requires, it's not just one step when I lose the screen. Okay. And it's like there's like 7 or 8 different things I got to click to get it back. And
Okay.
now it's back. Okay. This is this is going to be some night already. So let's not make things, let's not go,
Difficult.
yeah, let's just kind of ease into this. Hang on. Let's get our friends at Omni True Value. Let's get their little bug back up in the window. And let's get the Joe and Joe Weather Show frame back up into there. Now, let's get, yeah. As far as weather goes, and I, as I've said many times, and I'll say it again, especially in the fact that we have this block. and multiple streams in the flow, a northern southern stream, and God knows what else. Uh, Plus, we've got this blocking low that's out to the east. You're going to have model runs go in all sorts of different directions. However, there are some common themes that ran through the model runs, regardless of what the specifics are, and they were pretty much across the board. They all now are lined up with the idea that the Arctic is going to open up with cold air starting in about 9 or 10 days and moving down into the eastern part of the United States. They have all now surrendered the North Pacific, and I think this part is really important that they've surrendered that the Northern Pacific, and for the first time, both the GFS and the European have us going not only to a negative East Pacific oscillation, but actually two standard deviations negative. So we're talking about going strongly negative on the East Pacific oscillation. So we actually have, Joe, the superfecta here because we're going to have a negative East Pacific oscillation. We're going to have a negative North Atlantic oscillation. We are going to have a negative Arctic oscillation, and we're going to have a positive Pacific North America pattern. And I don't think we've had that superfecta combination uh, in probably not in the last 10 years. Maybe for brief moments, but we're going to have this for a little while. And I think there will be opportunities along the way for snow lovers, I believe.
I believe it too, Joe. I don't think that this is going to be well, certainly we've already surpassed last year, but I think it's a whole different script this time, and I think this time around we're going to be looking at a lot more in the way of colder weather, and also a lot more in the way of snowier conditions. And I've already stuck my neck out on the chopping block, saying we could conceivably have in excess of 40 inches or more at Central Park, and that we could even have another storm between now and let's say the end of March that could drop a foot or more on much of our area. So I'm not, dilly dallying. I'm not
Right.
shying away. I'm saying we're going for it, and we'll see how this all pans out. One of our people who watches us and who we are sometimes in contact with, Mr. Toskin, who tells all of his fans to eat lots of meatballs
Yes.
when they want snow. And I'm sure that he is in a meatball mood right now, uh,
Well, I'm
considering
sure, and
what's
there have been
ahead.
times when I inadvertently was making meatballs the first time I didn't know about the meatball connection with Adam years ago, and I just happened to be making meatballs and I posted them uh, right before a snowstorm, and he contacted me, and that's when I learned that was a thing on tri-state weather.
Right.
So yeah, I kind of agree with that idea. You think there's a snowstorm coming. Yeah, we should go ahead and make some meatballs. It works for me.
I had meatballs last night, by the way. So,
By the way, the polar vortex in the stratosphere, it should be noted, split on Sunday with
yes,
one center over Europe, the other center over northeastern Canada. And while it is going to be split maybe for another day or two, it is going to wind up unsplitting and then possibly resplitting again in about 10 days or so. So we have a very, very active and important activity that is going on in the stratosphere. And actually, if you think about it, there's a lag. What happens up there, if it couples with the lower part of the atmosphere, it would have suggested that there would be finally the Arctic air that's up there will get released and sent southward, and there's usually about a 2 week lag time. So if you think about it, the way the models are going, starting in around day 9, day 10, and then beyond that, it's about right with respect to this pattern change. I know the snow lovers are just dying because it's not snow. It hasn't snowed every day since November 1st. But what can you do? Uh, but the change is coming. It does. The change in pattern is coming, and the alignment. I'll call it a realignment.
I'm looking here at what weathertrends360.com shows. That is from our friend Captain Kirk, who we had here as a guest a couple of months ago, more than a couple of months ago, actually. We had him over the summertime.
Hmm.
And he points out the very strong and symmetrical polar vortex indeed broke up into two vortices, sending very cold weather into parts of Europe, Russia, and China. And that looks to be the general trend for the next 2 weeks, while North America remains above average. However, we may see some brief cold intrusions into the northeastern United States later this month. So,
Well, later
uh,
this month is week after next,
yes,
pretty
well, what we're
much.
talking about. Well, we're talking about,
Yeah. Yeah,
so
so let's get rolling here. I got the satellite up, and that same storm from Sunday is still out there, Joe. It's out in the Atlantic east of Cape Cod. In fact, it's been backing westward tonight and strengthening a bit. You can see the signature on the satellite actually looks impressive, and some bands of rain have actually moved back into Cape Cod and eastern Mass, and a few snow showers inland, and some of those clouds have backed southwestward. So we're really kind of stuck here in the northeast and northern mid-Atlantic states for the next several days or longer, because with this block in place, we've got season, let's call it seasonably cold air. That's kind of what we have. Temperatures are around average, maybe a touch above by a degree or so, but not enough to make a huge difference. And we're going to probably stay like this through at least Sunday.
yes, and I don't think we have much of a problem weather-wise here through Sunday and probably even Monday. Again, after Monday, the big question is what happens next Tuesday, whether or not this, the not the next, but the after we go past this weekend, or actually as we go past Friday, with the system that may very well pass by to our south. The next one on the
And that's
conveyor,
this one, by the way.
right? The next one on the conveyor belt from for Tuesday, that's the question mark as to whether or not that comes up or whether or not that stays down, and we'll see how that all pans out for us.
Now, if everybody looks at the loop, you can see the broad upper air circulation, how far back it goes in terms of seeing a north and northwest flow that comes down from eastern Canada and heads down across West Virginia and then comes off the coast in Virginia and North Carolina. And the this system not moving because it is blocked, it means that this system behind it, it can't go this way. It cannot go east because there's a big low in the way. So it's going to drop southward and move across the Gulf states. So then you ask yourself, okay, well, shouldn't it turn up and go up the East Coast? Well, that would happen if this little guy were not here, or if this little guy were to move away out to the northeast.
To,
Well,
to quote to quote Lucille Ball, little,
little, right,
little.
little. Yeah, I mean, if this were to move out to the east to allow this to turn, then it would be forced to climb up the eastern seaboard. But it's not going to do that. And that means that the low that's coming out from the west and moves across the south will probably be able to make it up somewhere off just off the North Carolina coast, and then it's going to get pushed out to the east northeast. It does with that northerly flow, that's bringing cold air down into the deep south, and I think we're probably going to wind up seeing some snow for the folks from North Georgia and eastern Tennessee, western North Carolina, maybe even a small portion of northwestern South Carolina, and then on up into southern Virginia before it slides out to the east. I really don't see how this makes it any further north than that. I don't think this is going to be one of those situations. In the absence of this storm south of Newfoundland completely and Nova Scotia completely pulling out, Joe. I don't see this as one where we start to see it come further and further northwest as we get closer and closer to the event. I don't think it's going to make a difference.
No, I don't think so either. And again, my wife was asking, she said, so when should we take the Christmas lights down? And just looking out ahead for the next couple of weeks, a nice window of opportunity may very well come between tomorrow and the end of the weekend. That may be the time to do it before we get stuck into a rather adverse pattern of rain or snow and colder weather. This, just keep that in mind, folks, especially if you're among those who have an extensive or rather large amount of lights to take down. You might want to take advantage of this dry spell that we're going to have for the next 5 or 6 days.
Let me just acknowledge James H. If I'm correct, it's James Harris, and he hit super chat tonight. All is well. Thank you, sir. And happy New Year to Doug Wetzel. Thank you, Doug, for hitting super chat tonight. Most appreciated. Happy New Year to you and your family. 84 likes so far, which means we only need 16. So if you haven't banged the like button yet, folks, bang that like button and get us to 100 because Joe's so much happier as a human being and as a person, and sometimes both. Um, if you hit the like button, am I not right, Joe?
Well, if you want another 100, I think we're going to get it tonight because we're only 12 away, at least on my screen.
Oh,
So,
good. I'm lagging. I'm at 86. So you're at 88.
yes,
Oh,
I'm at.
now I'm at 88. Okay. So here's the view from Canada. And you can actually see the storm a lot better here. I This is from this morning, this satellite loop when it just went to the visible, and you see the looks like even a little ring of convection there that fired up on the northern side as that system as that the clouds wrap around the low center. Now we'll update it. I'll update the loop here, and now it's all caught up. And yeah, you can see, folks, it has hardly moved at all. If anything, it's backed a little bit further to the west, and then look up on the upper right is a storm that's near the Azores, and that is also backing a little bit westward. So nothing is moving. There's a wholesale traffic jam. And by the way, if you want to look, Joe, if you look how bizarre the flow is with respect to this block, because you've got clouds that are backing in from the east going into Newfoundland and also going into Nova Scotia and eastern New England. Meanwhile, from James Bay northeastward to Greenland, you have a separate jet up there because those clouds are going south to north.
Yeah,
So there's probably some another trough that's up here somewhere that's split from the flow, and then you've got oops, let me move that down. And then um, you've got this complex here that's creating winds in here. So there's a ridge that's building in between this trough that's running down through Hudson Bay and the upper lows that are sitting off the New England coast, and the other one that's way out in the Azores is that the big high in the middle. That's your block, folks. That's how it works. And in the meantime, in the west, you got this mess that's coming in. All that low pressure that's off the Pacific for a couple of thousand miles keeps sending storm after storm after storm, and look at that! Look at that swirl going into Alaska, Joe. The coastal part of Alaska. Very impressive looking storm there.
indeed. You could say that looks like it has an eye now.
Yeah, I know. It's just crazy. And the Pacific Jet is very powerful, moving into Oregon and Washington. So they're probably getting rain out of that. And let's see if we can get the radar. Hopefully, the Zoom radar tonight is working. And let's see. I'm going to go out to the west. And it doesn't look like I'm having problems here. So for some reason, I can't see the data on this particular map. I was trying to use something different. So you know what that means, don't you? I have to go to the Weather Services map.
Oh
No,
no!
not that, not that. How deep is the ocean? All right, I'm doing this by default, folks. It's not by choice. And there's no data on this map either. So I don't know what in the name of God is going on here with these things. Unless I don't have the setting correct. No, I mean, I guess I.
Everybody's having technical problems tonight,
Oh,
Joe.
this is just so crazy. Why did they have to switch the radar? Why? Well, we were so
too much,
happy.
too much bandwidth being used up.
We were so happy the way things were. Everything was fine and dandy, but they had to go and change the radar. And by the way, in terms of warnings, as I'm trying to try and find something here, in terms of watches and warnings, we have winter storm warnings and winter storm watches up for parts of Washington State and a few counties in Central Oregon. A few avalanche warnings apparently in southern Montana, a couple of counties in Idaho and in northern Utah, and a few winter weather advisories in eastern South Dakota and Nebraska, and a few counties in western Iowa. And it looks like dense fog advisories running from central Illinois on up into northeastern Minnesota. Otherwise, the rest of the country is quiet. Ooh, look, they have, is that winter weather advisories up now for the western Carolina mountains? Could it be? Yes, indeed it is. And for a few counties on the Tennessee side too, they have put up the first winter weather advisories up for the weather system that's going to impact them for uh, Thursday night into Friday. And in the meantime, wait a minute. There's also stuff going on the radar right now around Charleston, West Virginia. I just brought up Charlie West's radar, so there's something going on over there. I don't know if that's ground clutter. What is it? They really need to do something with this. This is so ridiculous. You know what? To hell with it. On to the next one. I've got no patience with this. Okay, WPC for the next 7 days, which takes us through next Tuesday night. This map was done at 4 o'clock this afternoon. So I assume they got to look at all the global models today. So I guess they're not really biting completely into the Europeans' idea because they're only going, Joe, for anywhere between 1/100th and 1/10th of an inch of precip for much of the northern and mid Atlantic on up into New England. And in fact, no precip at all around most of the Great Lakes and for most of Maine over the next 7 days. You don't really see that too often. The southern half is busy with half inch to inch and a half rain, liquid amounts in North Carolina down to South Carolina and along the coast, and also back into East Texas and Louisiana and Arkansas. And of course, you see the crazy rainfalls that are being indicated up in the northwestern part of the U.S. with a ton of rain from Northern California all the way up the coast. Now, snow. WPC on their latest long range on the last day. Uh, I probably should do the 72-hour first. So this is their probability of at least 2 inches. And this forecast was issued at 9 o'clock this morning. So let's see if they have a new one. And they do. Okay, so this is the new forecast. It looks like they've expanded it a little bit. And this is the probability of at least two from uh, the, the 40% line touching the North Carolina Georgia border and runs up through western North Carolina into western Virginia and also West Virginia. Although I think that stuff that's in West Virginia is from what's going on at the moment. And the probability of four, they actually do have one area of at least a 40% probability of four in southwestern North Carolina. So WPC certainly on top of this. And on their long range, they have on Friday into Saturday a 10% probability of at least an inch, but they don't go more. They don't go more than that on the long range. In Southern Virginia, Western and Central North Carolina, and then I want to just check for Tuesday. They still have, by the way, Joe, for Tuesday. In fact, you probably looked at the European for this on Tuesday because of where the European has the rain snow line ultimately, and they have cut New Jersey in half from north to south, and from there west into Pennsylvania, up the Hudson Valley west of the Hudson, and on up into the Catskills, all the way down through much of Virginia, West Virginia, and into western North Carolina. They have a 10% probability of at least an inch. So maybe in some respects they're looking at the European and saying, well, we might as well cover for something.
Yeah, and I noticed that the icon model has on Tuesday clipped us a little bit with precipitation. So it all depends upon what model you're looking at, what model you believe in. But it's a week away. Lots of things can happen. So why don't we could sit here and we can speculate all we want for next week. Um, well, let's wait until we get a little closer.
Okay.
Uh,
And you know what time it is, Joe? It's 8:03, and you know what that means? It's teleconnection time. Okay, guess this teleconnection.
well, you
This
can't. You still though can't find the NPO.
oh I wait oh I got one.
You do.
I got one. Yeah. Shh.
Woo.
Shh. Don't tell anybody.
All
Okay.
right.
So this teleconnection went negative on December 1st and stayed close to the neutral line until just after Christmas, when it took a big drop southward and is forecast to remain negative right into the through the third week of January. Joe Rayo, for 100 pieces of bubble gum, which teleconnection is this?
Isn't this the NAO?
It's the NAO. That is correct. Oh, okay.
Thank, thank,
Now,
thank God.
the PNA, the Pacific North America Index, trough at 160, ridge in the west at 120, trough at 80, and then a few other things in a few other places, is kind of resolute here in trying to hold a positive PNA right through the forecast period, and it's been mostly positive since the beginning of December. So that really hasn't changed. These forecasts are updated every day from the overnight ensembles, folks, and they haven't really changed. And the AO continues to be almost 4 standard deviations negative, and it's going to do a spike around into the 14th on many of the members, some more than others, only to crash negative again after that. So we keep looking at that spike date, somewhere, say, around the between the 13th and the 16th, somewhere in there, for something to happen. And then it goes sharply negative again. And that leaves me with the EPO. So I'll give me 1 second here. And the EPO tonight is off the European. And there it is, Joe. You'll see it up here in a moment. And this is the first time, I think this is the first time that, since we lost the EPO, but on the occasional times that I've seen either people talk about it or throw up a graphic, this is the first time that the EPO, it actually drops to the neutral line right around the 10th of the ninth and the 10th. So in the next couple of days, it's dropping down toward the neutral line. Then it bumps back up positive. Look how high it is right now. It's 4 standard deviations above the mean. If it wasn't for this block, we'd be blowtorching here in the 50s. But um, it drops down to neutral around January 9th, 10th, 11th. It goes back a positive, but not as strong as the last time, and then it crashes right around that same time frame that the AO spikes up. The EPO spikes down and goes negative at around the 12th or 13th, and then stays negative through the rest of the forecast period, which takes us to January 20th. And it even goes more than 2 standard deviations negative. So this is pretty. This is a remarkable change that has been indicated by, again, all the global models are showing this, and they are now showing it inside the 10-day time frame, to start inside the 10-day time frame, and that is encouraging with regards to the forecast of the idea of this pattern realigning.
So the fun, according to this, will begin late next week.
Well, I mean, certainly we'll be seeing the table being set during
Right.
next week. Each one of these storms is going to play a big role in how this ultimately plays out. Now, of course, because of the block, here comes this first low for for Thursday. This is Thursday evening. You got a low in southern Alabama. I don't know if Jess Harden is on here. Um, I think there's an outside chance that you might see some mixing up in northernmost Alabama out of this, but definitely in northeastern Georgia, and then on up through easternmost Tennessee, western North Carolina, into southern Virginia, you're going to wind up seeing some snow out of this. But again, because of the block, if you look on this surface map, and I'll center it a bit better, as I see it's a little bit off center, but if you look on the upper right, that low, Joe, is still there. Look at this. This is for Friday. And that low, the isobars from that low that's sitting east of
Right.
Cape Cod, is still there on Friday.
Right.
There's no room here. There's no room. None.
Absolutely.
So out
And
it
you need that,
goes.
and you need that southern system trying to come north to be somewhat of a kicker, if you will, to kick all of that out, unless that thing itself starts to intensify, to open the door for the next system, which may come our way early next week.
Right. Now here's the thing. This system is not this one keeps on going. But the problem is there's still look at the isobars. It goes out east, but the isobars start curling back westward, so it probably comes to a grinding halt as well. And at least on the GFS. Now the European was different. The European shows that the blocking signature relaxes just enough so that this low. If we go back to the earlier run, you'll see it better. Let me go back to the earlier run. Do, do, do. There it is. Okay, so on the earlier run, Joe, you had the low here in the eastern Gulf of Mexico. Makes the turn and passes. This is the second one and passes off North Carolina. It looks almost like the first one and goes out. The difference between this and the 18Z, because I noticed a few people were saying that it took it away on the 18Z. Well, it didn't really take it away. If you follow that precip in the northeastern Gulf of Mexico, a little low is out here eventually east of the Florida coast that forms right over there. It's very weak, but there is a low there right here. Okay, so it just really just kind of has a little flat wave that goes out, and that might not be correct. If the GFS is overwhelming with the block and keeps it so much stronger, then yeah, you're going to probably wind up with nothing. The European was arguing that the block would relax, and then there'll be another attempt at something later next week. It looks like there's some kind of diver here that moves into the east, and then something tries to come up offshore, but who knows if that's right or not. But overall, though, Joe, when you look at what happens right after that, right after the 15th, you start to see these thicknesses just collapse, all this cold air, and by the end of the forecast period, we've got thicknesses down to 498, and on the new run, it actually gets colder sooner than that. On the new run, if right around the 18th, there's some kind of storm that develops nearby, and then the cold air comes in a big way right after that. So they're all showing it. So it's hard to argue
Look at
against it.
that gradient.
What's that?
Look at the gradient
Oh, I
after
know.
about
Isn't that
40 hours.
insane? Kind of curious. I didn't. Let's take a look at this. I just for laughs, because we haven't had to do this all winter yet, because there hasn't been a cold air mass worthy of looking of doing this for. Oh man, yeah, that gradient is insane.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm gonna let's pull the 2 meter temperatures, the contours for the 2 meter temperatures here. So, all right, 32, 30, 25, 20, 15 is running from Cape Cod across Long Island down the New Jersey shore. 10 from Boston to, between Poughkeepsie and White Plains across northern New Jersey, and then down through Virginia, western North Carolina. Then you've got, there should be 5 and 0. I'll tell you, that's -10 up near Buffalo. No, I'm sorry, that's +10. I see where the 0 line is at Albany. The highs, let's go Wednesday. As far as this goes, is what? Oh, this only goes to Thursday afternoon. So Thursday morning, let me make sure I had the right map. So this is Wednesday. And then Thursday morning, uh, 30, 25, 20. So, okay, so it's at least initially, it's got teens and, teens for lows near the coast and single digits inland. So if this air mass winds up being real, we'll probably see those numbers go down as we get a little bit closer to reality.
I'm surprised. I'm looking at on tropical tidbits. I'm looking at the climate maps, the weekly climate maps,
Okay.
and I would have seen a much colder flow from what we've been looking at here with those isobars and the very cold weather. But it's not really all that. Maybe that's what Maybe this is what the CPC people are looking at. They're looking at maps like this and saying, "That's not going to get all that
Well, it could
cold."
be. I mean, maybe they're using the CFS, and it looks like to me the CFS is, it's cold. It's got a colder upper air from the 12th to the 19th of January, and then the week after that, the 19th to the 26th, and then the ridge comes flying back.
Right.
But these climate models have been, they have been, they have not worked well. Let's put it that way. They have not worked well through all of this. So I'm imagining then it brings back this trough in the west, if that's correct, and it does.
Yeah.
So if you look at this, it goes back to that mess in the northwest that it cuts the Arctic off again. So I don't know. I don't know that that's the CFS is not, doesn't have a stellar record. Let's put it that way, as far as uh, on its 6 week forecast. So I would be really cautious about using it. Meanwhile, look at this upper air. Look how it's changed. There's just how it changes in this whole time frame. Just from what it is now with uh, that mess that's in the Pacific and on up in Western Canada and in the Western Arctic. This was on Monday. This is the upper air for Monday. And then if I roll forward, you'll watch how the block builds up in Greenland and in Eastern Canada. The low pressures in the Pacific and in Western Canada disappear, replaced by a ridge. And then we get a vortex that forms in central Canada. We haven't seen that in ages, Joe. There's a strong vortex that forms in Hudson Bay and then swings down and around into the east, and then another one is right behind it. I mean, this is a cold looking pattern all the way around.
Yeah. Take a look at the 500 anomaly, the GFS 500 anomaly, starting at about 300 hours. And you talk about a diving shortwave. I mean, it's not a shortwave; it is a closed low. Shades of 1978, Joe.
Yeah, I know it's very interesting that, yeah, that whole closed low. Look at that. That's now it may not be there on the next run, but or in the same fashion, but that is impressive. Doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. That is, and you got the blocking high. You got that blocking high sitting in the Davis Strait, back toward Greenland. Very interesting. This whole pattern setting up here is very interesting, and having those teleconnections in the superfecta mode, I think something is going to happen uh, from the standpoint of snow. I don't know what, but or how. I got to think that one of these short waves that's coming along in the southern stream is gonna have a shot at us. Maybe the European has the correct idea for next week. Maybe it doesn't. Basically, it just sharpens the trough differently than the GFS does. And in fact, here I'll just show you. We'll show you the European upper air, and at the very end on the last period, there's a wrapped up upper low that forms over the Great Lakes, and it looks like it's getting ready to do a pivot down and around and swing to the east past the 240-hour time frame, and this is where the European on its surface map today, and I'll bring that up in case anybody hasn't seen it, uh, takes a low from from the eastern Gulf, where it forms a low in the Gulf actually, and then runs it up the coast. It doesn't look like much here. You got a 1032 high in Maine, and then all of a sudden there's a 984 low sitting just east of Block Island. So that's in response to that plunging upper low that's coming down. So
Yep.
this is how it happened. This is how it could happen if the block relaxes enough to allow for some room. We will. Then this is a possibility. If the block is overwhelming, like the GFS has, and therefore there is no room, then the weather system that we're talking about is going to wind up pretty much sliding out underneath us, and we'll have to wait for the one after that to see what that does. So it's all a big mystery that's going to take a long time to resolve.
Oh,
And
I'm looking here at the anomaly, the mean sea level pressure anomaly on the European,
mhm.
and they don't really that system for next Tuesday really doesn't look all that much to get excited about. But by the time we get to 240 hours, if you want to go out like 10 days,
Yeah, it
they've got it,
explodes.
they've got this gigantic thing dropping on down from the Great Lakes and heading for the Northeast and Mid Atlantic.
Yeah, so
So
the GFS doesn't do that. It doesn't have this gigantic upper low coming down. It has it has a decent shortwave and open trough that just kind of swings around. But it's the southern feature is completely separate and just gets lost and overwhelmed in the action that's going out in the Atlantic. So I would just tell everybody what I've been saying for days now. You're not going to get any resolution from any particular model run. I would also tell you that I am much more inclined to uh, uh, look at the GFS or any model. I'm much more favorable to the idea of something happening when the models are only showing hints of something happening, not the full whole not the whole hog. I rather see just hints of and possibilities out in the past the 7 day time frame that are subtle looking on the maps and see them get more and more get stronger and stronger with every
Exactly.
run.
I know what you're talking about.
Right. Rather
I
than
know what you're talking
seeing because Joe, do you recall the last time you saw a storm on the 240 hour that wound up being within 100 miles of where I'll give you 200 miles that wound up within 200 miles of wherever the models were putting it. I
The only
I, I don't
time
remember.
the only time I could remember something like that, Joe, was the superstorm of '92, December '92. That, no, not the superstorm. The superstorm was in March of '93.
93.
The nor'easter of December '92. Some of the models were like screaming that something big was going to happen like 10 days in advance.
Yeah.
That I remember one guy who kept stressing that, and I don't know whatever happened to him. I know he went from Boston to New Jersey, and then maybe he retired. Walter Dragg, um, he was very big on synoptic discussions, and he was telling
Oh, Drag
everybody
was
on his,
great. Drag wrote the best discussions from Boston. Used to be
absolutely,
great when it snowed. Um,
absolutely.
but Joe, let me just acknowledge Brad DeBoer hitting super chat tonight, and I think he hit it from Canada, if I'm reading that correctly, because it says CA in front of it. Thank you, Brad. Welcome to the channel, by the way. Thank you very much for hitting super chat. And Barry Goldberg, thank you
Barry
for
Goldberg.
thank you for hitting super chat. Joe and I really, really appreciate it, and we're very glad that you get a lot out of the show, and we have a lot of fun doing it because if it wasn't fun, we wouldn't be here. And thank you for being part of the show family.
Yes.
Really most appreciated, Barry. So bottom line is we're probably going to come on tomorrow night and say pretty much the same thing, and maybe on Thursday night we're going to say pretty much the same thing. So I really don't see much changing. Uh, we're not going to get anything definitive here until maybe on Sunday when we do the Sunday morning show.
I would just like to have something like the and you remember this well, Joe, because the blizzard of '78. Now you feel old when you have people coming up to you and saying, "What was it like? What was that? What was it like to forecast, or what was it like to experience that?" And of course, I remember for days, 3 or 4 days leading into that
Hmm.
particular thing, the way the adrenaline just got more and more. You get more and more pumped, like you really knew that something big was going to happen or whatever.
Right, but there
And
was that one moment during the night as everything was getting underway where it there was a feeling of gloom and doom that the thing was not going to happen,
right,
that the low was going to pull out to the east, and I remember because I was at the weather service that evening, and I remember Tom Morgan was there that night, and he was pointing out to the fact that the low was moving almost to Bermuda before it moved
right,
all the way out to Bermuda, but almost to Bermuda before it got pulled back up to the northwest.
right,
And it was this, the nerves were there that the big storm that they would, because that would have gone down as the biggest bust ever
right.
if it hadn't happened.
And they couldn't afford something like that because you remember 17 days earlier, there was the storm that was
Right,
supposed to mostly rain and turned out to be snow,
a foot and a half.
foot and a half. And the morning of the event, the blizzard of '78, all New York City schools were closed in anticipation of this, but Newark schools remained open, assuming that another bust was about to happen for some reason. Of course, it didn't happen.
Yeah, if anything, the
Unlike,
bus was the other way because of what happened back in a couple of weeks before on the
right,
19th.
right.
And of course, the stuff as I remember from the 19th, wasn't that washed away by a storm around the 26th or 7th?
That was that tremendous blizzard
The
that they had.
Cleveland wasn't that the Cleveland blizzard?
Yeah, in the Ohio Valley, with incredible. That was what a that was an incredible stretch. I mean,
Right.
you had the storm on the 20th, the blizzard in the Ohio Valley on the 26th to kind of wash everything away. Not everything, but some of the snow, fog. I remember during that time frame, and then and then right after that storm on the 25th, 26th, we had like 10 consecutive days of sub-freezing weather, and that set the stage for what happened on February 6th and 7th with the blizzards
Right.
that
And
we.
by the way, we are coming up on the 25th anniversary. This is mind-boggling to me. The 25th anniversary of the blizzard of 96,
That's right.
which for me, I
That's
actually got that was amazing. That was just an amazing experience. It
You
snowed.
folks want to check YouTube and type in like Joe Chiaffi Blizzard 96. You
Well, it's
can
on my
probably,
YouTube library, so yeah, you can find it.
yeah,
It's right there. I have somebody had it, and I was able to download it, and he sent it to me, and I uploaded it to my YouTube channel. And if you
that's when you had your Alex Trebek mustache.
yes, well, there is a way I can put it up on here so that everybody can watch it. So maybe the anniversary is the 7th and 8th, correct?
7th and 8th of January.
All right,
Yeah.
so the 7th is Thursday. So Thursday, I'll see if I can pull it up. I think I can put it up here so we could actually have it on the screen. It's not that long. I think it's like I I think I had a 4 or 5 minute weathercast in there, but you'll see how primitive the graphics were compared to what they do now. And at the time, we thought we had like great graphics because that's what Again, it was the mid 1990s.
Right.
So
Right.
you were doing it with giant computers the size of book, a
I remember at News 12
library
Westchester,
shelves.
after the storm was over, at News 12 Westchester, they had me do, I think on the 10 o'clock show, they had me go outside to do a live shot. And I remember standing knee deep in snow, just talking about how the storm is past now. Now here's what's coming up in the next few days. But I'm saying to myself, I'm standing here knee deep in snow. In
I worked
snow.
pretty much nonstop from the first snowflake to the last. I got in the car when the first flake started to drive in. It was about 8 o'clock in the morning. I left my house, and it started just shortly after that, and then it went within minutes. It went to moderate, and it was just so quick. Usually, it piddles around for a couple of hours. Oh, there's dry air. It's all going to evaporate. No, you knew you were in trouble when the first flakes fly, and all of a sudden you blink your eye and the ground is already white. So
Right.
that was gone.
And I was I was living in Levittown, Long Island at the time, and I remember early that morning getting stocking up on provisions. Went to the local supermarket, and Joe, it was just I. If we ever have World War III or if we ever have nuclear fallout, and people are going to stock up on anything and everything they can get their hands on, it was literally a free for all. I remember in that supermarket early that morning. I forget which one it was. Maybe it was the A&P or ShopRite or something. That was just that was just incredible. Those are the memorable storms of the past that we remember, and I just like to see that happen at least one more time, just just to get. You know why I'd say that? Because I know you feel the same way. We don't have to go anywhere.
It just was. Well, Joe. Here's the thing. I got a road trip I got to take at the end of this week. So
Oh,
I kind of don't want anything to happen, while I'm away. But it's almost a guarantee that
wait a minute.
something will
Hold
happen.
on for a second. Hold on for a second. Hello. Yeah. Well, I haven't spoke to you. Yeah. Well, I'm talking to him right now. Okay, I'll tell him. Yeah, thanks. Nice talking to you again. Bye. Hey, Joe,
Yeah.
that was Ken Dickman. He wants to know if you're available on Friday.
Yeah. Oh, dear Ken. By the way, the video is there for anybody who wants to see it. And we're gonna run. I'll run it on here on Friday. Here is, I put the link up. This is from when I was slightly younger. So I'm 39 now. So I was 14 on this video during the blizzard of 96. Do you buy that? I don't think so. Um, so the link's up there for anybody who wants to take an early look, and we'll probably show it on Thursday because Thursday is the anniversary, and we could go back and we'll look at the maps too because that was a fun time. That was a fun forecast all the way around. Never. There are a few moments in your weather career where you hang over to waiting for the foose with as much anticipation as we did for the arrival of the foose right before the storm started, and it cut everything in half.
The Friday on the storm started on Sunday morning. On Friday afternoon, the old AVN 60-hour prog took the whole system and passed it right out underneath us.
Right, but the aviation always passed everything out underneath
It,
us. I mean,
uh,
it could take a low, it could take a low from anywhere, and it would always pass out underneath us. Oh, good lord. Well,
Matt K's asking, what is that? A corded phone? It's my fax. I have a fax here, fax machine, and this is what attached to the fax. I could
yeah,
also use it as a phone too if I wanted to.
well, all right. So look, let's wrap it up. 8:30, nice hour show we did tonight, and again, patience, everybody. For you snow lovers out there, just be patient, okay? No temper tantrums. I've already lectured a few people on temper tantrums when it comes to it not snowing. So I don't want to have to do that lecture again. Okay? They're living in
150 likes, Joe.
what's that?
150 on the likes.
150 likes. We have 265 users. Thanks everybody. By the way, those of you who are new, be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you can set your notifications to get our show, which is on almost every night and on Sunday mornings at 11 a.m., where we sit down to our Sunday morning coffee and go through the weather. So you can do that with your Gmail account. If you haven't, if you like the show, hit the like button. Anthony Orr, James H. Brad DeBoer, or I hope I'm saying it right, from Canada today, hitting super chat, and Barry Goldberg hitting super chat tonight. Thanks all of you for doing that, and don't forget that the Joe and Joe Weather Show is brought to you by our sponsors, our sponsor. Omni True Value Hardware of West Babylon, and they're a local business, by the way. So if you're on Long Island, whether you've got a crew of people doing snow cleanup or it's just you for your home, Omni True Value Hardware is a local business at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, 631-756-1125. The website, omnitruevalue.com. Support your local businesses, folks, and they've got everything you need or going to need when it comes to dealing with winter storms that are definitely, in our never to be humble opinions, in our future. So we'll see you tomorrow.
I'll be here. Well, assuming that my internet doesn't break down on me again, I plan to be here, and I guess you do too.
I'll be here. We'll see you tomorrow. Good night, everybody.